Chapter 10, Children with Special Needs. So in my point of view, this chapter titled Children with Special Needs means that any kid who might need extra help because of a medical, emotional, or learning problem. So these are the kids that have special needs because they might need medicine, therapy, or extra help in school. Stuff other kids don't typically need or only need once in a while. As I delve into the introduction of this chapter, as a pre-service teacher, I need to understand and address the needs of children with special needs. This chapter highlights the increasing recognition and focus on providing support to these students in the educational system. I recognize that the population of children with special needs is growing, and educators like me must be equipped with the knowledge and skills to meet the unique needs. The Department of Education and legislative bodies play a significant role emphasizing the importance of addressing these concerns. The chapter identifies different categories or types of special needs such as cognitive, academic, social, behavioral, cognitive and social functioning, physical and sensory, and also advanced cognitive development. Understanding these categories help me recognize the specific needs of individual students and tailor my support accordingly. I also understand that children with special needs exhibit behaviors and characteristics that set them apart from their peers. By recognizing these differences, I can better understand their challenges and provide appropriate intervention and accommodations. I appreciate that advancement in expertise and technology have made it easier to assess, identify children with special needs, especially when they are integrated into regular classrooms. As a pre-service teacher, having a basic knowledge of nature of special needs as provided in this chapter will be invaluable, especially since I do not have special education as a field of specialization. So, as a pre-service teacher, I recognize the importance of addressing the needs of children with special needs. This conduction providing me with insights into the different categories of special needs and the behaviors exhibited by the students by acquiring this knowledge. The first learning point of this chapter is the nature of special needs. So as a pre-service teacher, reflecting on the nature of special needs is crucial for me. I understand that children with special needs require individualized support and accommodation. Flexibility and creativity in teaching techniques are important to cater to their unique challenges. Stereotyping should be avoided, as each child is unique and their abilities should be celebrated. Understanding the characteristics of different categories of special needs helps me provide target support. So I aim to create an inclusive classrooms environment that promotes the growth of all students regardless of their special needs. So the second learning point is specific cognitive or academic difficulties and indicative behaviors. So as a future educator, reflecting on the characteristics of children with special cognitive or academic difficulties is crucial in understanding the unique needs and providing appropriate support. So one characteristic is perceptual difficulty. This perceptual difficulty, where students may struggle with distinguishing differences between similar sounds or remembering visual sequences. So, for example, a student with perceptual difficulty may have difficulty differentiating between the sounds of B and D when reading or pronouncing words. Memory difficulty is another characteristic. This is where students may have a reduced capacity for remembering information in the short or long term. So for instance, a student with memory difficulty may struggle to recall information taught earlier in the day or week. So metacognitive difficulty refers to challenges in using effective learning strategies and monitoring their learning progress. So for example, A student with metacognitive difficulty may struggle to plan and organize their study materials or have difficulty achieving their learning goals. Students with processing oral language difficulty may have trouble understanding spoken language or remembering what has been said. This can impact their comprehension and participation in classroom discussions. Reading difficulty such as dyslexia involves trouble recognizing printed words or comprehending what is read. So, a student with dyslexia may struggle to decode words accurately or may have difficulty understanding the main idea of a passage. Lastly, difficulty with social perception can impact a student's ability to interpret social cues and understand others' feelings or reactions. This may lead to inappropriate responses in social situations. Understanding the different characteristics of children with special cognitive or academic difficulties allows me as a future educator to tailor my teaching strategies and provide targeted support. By recognizing these challenges and providing appropriate accommodations, I can create inclusive and supportive learning environments for all students. Attention Deficit and Hyperactivity Disorder or ADHD. As a future educator, understanding the characteristics of children with attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder and speech and communication disorder is crucial for me in creating a supportive learning environment for these students. Children with ADHD often struggle with focusing and maintaining attention, which can impact their ability to follow directions and complete tasks. For example, imagine having a student with ADHD who finds it challenging to stay focused during a lecture or instruction, leading to missed information and difficulty completing assignments. So, hyperactivity is another characteristic of ADHD, where students may display excessive energy and difficulty working or playing quietly. So, a student with ADHD may have trouble sitting still during class and may require movement breaks to help them stay engaged. Impulsivity is also common among students with ADHD, where they may engage in appropriate behaviors without thinking or consequences. Thinking of the consequences, should I say. So, for example, a student with ADHD may blurt out answers or interrupt others during class discussions, disrupting the learning environment. When it comes to speech and communication disorders, students may struggle with spoken language and comprehension. This can manifest as articulation problems, stuttering, or difficulty understanding the speech of others. For instance, a student with speech disorder may feel self-conscious and reluctant to speak in of their peers, which can impact their participation in class discussions. So, as a pre-service teacher, I need to be aware of the characteristics of students with ADHD and speech and communication disorders. By recognizing and understanding these challenges, I can implement strategies and accommodations to support their learning and create an inclusive classrooms in environment. So, for example, providing visual aids or allowing movement breaks can help students with ADHD stay engaged while implementing supportive strategies like speech therapy or providing alternative means of communication can assist students with speech and communication disorders in expressing themselves effectively. So the third learning point is the social and behavioral problems and behavioral indicators. So as a future teacher, understanding the characteristics of children with emotional or behavioral disorders and autism is essential in creating a supportive and inclusive classroom environment. Children with emotional or behavioral disorders may display external behaviors that have an impact on others, such as defiance, aggression, or disobedience. For example, imagine having a student who frequently displays defiant behavior, refusing to follow instructions or engage in classroom activities. This can disrupt the learning environment and require strategies to address their emotional and behavioral needs. Internalized behaviors in children with emotional or behavioral disorders can manifest as anxiety, depression, or social withdrawal. So as students who exhibit social withdrawal may struggle to establish satisfactory interpersonal relationships and have a poor self-concepts. It is important for me as a future teacher to create a safe and supportive space for these students to express themselves and build positive relationships. Children with autism have impairments in social interaction and may prefer to be alone. They may struggle with interpreting social situations accurately, leading to inappropriate behaviors. So, for example, imagine having a student with autism who has difficulty understanding personal space boundaries and consistently invades others' personal space. It is crucial for me as a future teacher to provide clear and explicit social cues and support for these students to navigate social interaction successfully. Children with autism may also engage in obsessively repetitive movements and exhibit unusual responses to sensory inputs. As students with autism may engage in repetitive rocking or hand-wringing behaviors as a way to self-soothe. As a future teacher, I can provide a sensory accommodations such as quiet corner or fidget tools to support their sensory needs and promote their engagement in learning. Understanding the characteristics of children with emotional or behavioral disorders and autism allows me to create an inclusive and supportive learning environment. By recognizing and addressing their unique needs, I can implement strategies and accommodations to support their social and emotional well-being and facilitate their academic growth. So, implementing behavior management techniques, providing sensory accommodations, and fostering positive social interactions. It can support these students in reaching their full potential. Fifth learning point, physical and sensory challenges and behavioral indicators reflecting on the learning point about physical and sensory challenges. So it is crucial for me as a future teacher to understand the common characteristics and behavioral indicators associated with these conditions. Students with physical and health impairments may have limited energy, strength, or muscle control, which can impact their school performance. For example, imagine having a student with cerebral palsy who tries easily and requires accommodations for physical mobility within the classrooms. So I need to provide a supportive and accessible learning environment that caters to their unique needs. Visual impairments can range from partial to complete loss of vision, which affects students' ability to perceive visual information. A student with a visual impairment may have limited exposure to visual materials and rely on their senses for learning. So, I can provide alternative formats for visual information and incorporate auditory or tactile experiences to enhance their learning. Hearing loss can impact students' ability to perceive and understand spoken language. For example, a student with hearing loss may have delayed language development and rely on sign language. So, I need to provide accommodations such as implication system or sign language to interpret to support their communication needs. Students with severe multiple disabilities may have a combination of different impairments requiring specialized services. So, students with severe and multiple disabilities may have limited intellectual functioning, communication skills, and motor development. So, I need to collaborate with specialists and provide individualized support to address their unique needs. So, understanding the characteristics and behavioral indicators associated with physical and sensory challenges allows me to create an inclusive and supportive learning environment by providing accommodations and specialized services and collaborating with specialists. I can ensure that students with physical and sensory challenges have equal access to education and opportunities for learning growth. Chapter 11. Diversity in Designing and Assessing Learning Activities. So, reflecting the introduction to this chapter on diversity in designing and assessing learning activities highlights the importance of recognizing and understanding the unique characteristics and needs of students, including those with special needs. So, we will encounter classrooms with diverse individuals, each and their own set of their strengths and challenges. It is our responsibility to study and identify the characteristics of students and apply the most appropriate teaching. So, as I proceed through this chapter, I will keep in mind the importance of understanding and addressing the unique needs of each student. I will strive to create an inclusive and supportive learning environment that promotes optimal learning for all students, regardless of their limitations. By implementing the suggestions and principles provided in this chapter, I can enhance my ability to meet the diverse needs of my future students and foster their success in the classroom. So, as a future teacher, the concept of learner-centered teaching resonates deeply with me. It emphasizes the importance of considering the needs, abilities, and interests of my students as the foundation for effective instruction. So, by shifting the focus from the teacher as the sole provider or information to a shared responsibility between teacher and students, learner-centered teaching promotes active engagement, meaningful learning, and increased motivation. One of the key benefits of implementing learning-centered methodologies is the ability to design instruction that caters to the diverse learning needs of every student in the classroom. Since some are mentioned in Chapter 10 about special needs, I just make a recap about it. As a future educator, I understand the importance of creating an inclusive classroom environment for children with speech and communication disorders. To help these students develop their confidence, I would regularly practice oral communication activities that encourage them to express themselves. For example, I could incorporate class discussions or presentations where each student has the opportunity to share their thoughts and ideas by patiently listening and allowing them to finish their sentences. I can create a supportive atmosphere that fosters their self. For children with mental retardation, I would pace instruction slowly and provide ample time for them to process information and complete tasks. For example, if a student needs more time to think about a math problem, I would allow them to necessary time to arrive at a solution. I would also explain tasks in a concrete, specific, and complete manner, starting with easier material and gradually progressing to more difficult concepts. I would consider incorporating vocational and life skills into the curriculum to prepare them for future employment opportunities. It is my responsibility to create an inclusive classroom environment that meets the diverse needs of the students with special needs. By implementing strategies tailored to each specific situation, I can support learning and overall development, fostering a positive and inclusive learning environment for all students. Chapter 13. Problems and Motivation. Learning Point, Nature of Problems in Motivation. As a future teacher, reflecting on these examples of different levels of motivating among students provides valuable insights into understanding and addressing the motivational needs of my own future students. Firstly, I recognize the importance of observing students' behavioral reactions and manifestations to gauge their motivation levels. By paying attention to facial expression, response times, and engagement in tasks, I can gain valuable insights into their motivation to learn. In the case of Robert, who struggles to start tasks and expresses difficulty, I can empathize with his challenges. So it is my responsibility to create a supportive environment where students like Robert feel confident and capable. By providing additional support, breaking tasks into smaller steps, and offering encouragement, I can help him overcome his initial difficulties and build his motivation to engage in tasks. Anna's behavior highlights the influence of external factors, such as praise and grades, on her motivation. So, as a teacher, I must strive to foster intrinsic motivation by creating meaningful learning experience and emphasizing the value of the task itself. By focusing on growth and improvement rather than solely on grades, I can help students like Anna develop a genuine motivation to learn. Bobby's lack of persistence despite having interest in the resource indicates a need for further motivation. So, as a teacher, I can provide additional incentives, recognition, or opportunities for him to showcase his writing skills. So, by acknowledging his efforts and providing constructive feedback, I can encourage him to strive for higher levels of achievement. Ami's behavior of pretending to be engaged while seeking help from classmates suggests a fear of failure and a lack of self-confidence. As a teacher, it is crucial for me to create a safe and supportive classroom environment where students feel comfortable taking risks and making mistakes. By fostering a growth mindset and providing individualized support, I can help students like Ami build their self-confidence and motivate to independently tackle tasks. Maridel's perception of her own abilities in language and communication highlights the impact of self-beliefs on motivation. As a teacher, I can provide targeted support and differentiated instruction to address her specific needs. By creating opportunities for success and celebrating her progress, I can help her build confidence and motivation in these areas. These examples reminds me of the importance of understanding and addressing the diverse motivational needs of my future students. By creating a supportive and inclusive learning environment, providing individualized support, and fostering intrinsic motivation, I can empower my students to become motivated and engaged learners. Learning point: identifying and understanding motivation problems. So as a future teacher, reflecting on the importance of identifying and understanding motivation is crucial for creating an effective learning environment for my students. The learning point emphasizes the need for careful observation, the need for anticipation, and an accurate diagnosis of students' motivation issues. So, I recognize that motivation problems can arise from unobservable thoughts and feelings such as self-confidence, expectations of success, interest in academic work, and feelings of autonomy or alienation. It is essential for me to be attentive and perceptive, not only to my students' over behavior but also to their emotional expressions and behaviors. By observing students in various contexts and tasks, I can gain a deeper understanding of their motivation levels and potential issues. To supplement my observation, I can employ additional strategies such as discussions with older students individually or in groups. Creating a safe and open environment where students feel comfortable expressing their thoughts and concerns can provide valuable insights into their motivation levels and challenges. Questionnaires can also be utilized to gather students' responses and further identify motivation problems. I must be mindful of the tendency to overlook motivation problems. In high-achieving students, it is not enough to assume that high achievers are automatically highly motivated. Some high-achieving students may not be realizing their full potential due to underlying motivation issues. By recognizing this, I can provide appropriate support and interventions to help all students, regardless of their academic performance, to reach their maximum potential. Chapter 14: Comparison of Cognitive and Metacognitive Factors in Learning. As a future educator, I have learned that motivation and metacognition are crucial aspects of learning. Motivation refers to the internal drive that influences students' engagement and persistence in task. I need to identify and understand motivation problems such as choices, getting started, intensity, persistence, and thoughts and feelings to support my students effectively. Metacognition, on the other hand, involves thinking about thinking. It allows individuals to actively control and regulate their cognitive processes. As a future educator, I understand that metacognition goes beyond cognition by focusing on planning, monitoring, and evaluating one's learning. To support my students' metacognitive development, I will encourage them to develop metacognitive knowledge, including declarative knowledge, which is knowing what to do, procedural knowledge, knowing how to use strategies, self-regulating knowledge, knowing when to apply strategies, and metacognitive knowledge, general knowledge about learning, and individual knowledge of their learning process. I will also emphasize the importance of metacognitive strategies in my teaching. By explicitly teaching metacognition, providing opportunities for reflection, and guiding my students in setting goals and monitoring their progress, I can help them become active learners who are aware of their thinking processes. Incorporating metacognitive strategies in my teaching practice will empower my students to become independent learners and develop the skills necessary for lifelong learning and success. By fostering their metacognitive abilities, I can support their growth and help them become self-regulated learners who can plan, monitor, and evaluate their learning effectively. Chapter 15, Cognitive and Metacognitive Factors in Learning. As a pre-service teacher, reflecting on the factors related to cognition and metacognition in learning has provided me with valuable insights into effective teaching strategies. Understanding these factors allows me to create a classroom environment that supports the cognitive and metacognitive development of my students. Intelligence, age, and level of education are important factors to consider when deciding instructions. Recognizing that metacognitive abilities are associated with successful cognitive endeavors, I can provide opportunities for students to develop and enhance their metacognitive skills. For example, I can incorporate activities that require planning, monitoring, and evaluating their learning processes. Using cognitive strategies for instruction is another important aspect. By teaching students specific cognitive strategies, I can help them become more effective learners. I can provide structured instruction, link new material with prior knowledge, and carefully analyze the attention demands of instruction to ensure that students can focus their attention. In terms of practical strategies to help students process information, I can provide organized instruction, use single coherent representations, and arrange a variety of practice opportunities. By recognizing the limits of attention and short-term memory, I can guide students in focusing their attention and chunking information to enhance learning. Understanding the implications of cognitive theory on teaching and learning is also very crucial for me. By emphasizing active involvement and metacognitive training, I can empower students to take control of their learning processes, incorporating methods such as cognitive and apprenticeship. Reciprocal teaching and problem-based learning can further enhance student engagement and understanding. For example, in a science lesson, I can use the cognitive apprenticeship approach by modeling a scientific experiment, coaching students as they experiment, and encouraging them to reflect on their performance and formulate hypotheses. In a language arts lesson, I can implement reciprocal teaching by engaging students in a dialogue about a text, where they summarize, generate questions, clarify, and make predictions. Reflecting on this chapter reminds me of the importance of considering cognitive and metacognitive factors in my teaching practice. By implementing appropriate strategies and creating a supportive learning environment, I can help my students develop their cognitive and metacognitive abilities, leading to meaningful and effective learning experiences. Chapter 16, Indicators of Cognitive and Metacognitive Theories in the K-12 Curriculum Guide. So, reflecting on the K-12 curriculum and its goals has given me a deeper understanding of its significance in shaping the education system. The K-12 curriculum is a comprehensive reform that aims to provide 13 years of basic education from kindergarten to grade 12 to develop empowered individuals who are prepared for the challenges of the modern world. The curriculum is designed to be rooted in sound education principles and focused on excellence. It aims to equip students with the foundation for lifelong learning, the competence to be productive in their chosen fields, in the ability to coexist harmoniously in local and global communities. It emphasizes critical thinking and autonomy, as well as the capacity to transform oneself and others. One of the key objectives of the K-12 curriculum is to address the basic learning needs of every child, including numeracy, literacy, and scientific and technical knowledge applicable to daily life. It also instills in students a sense of respect for human rights and values, such as being God-fearing, compassionate, patriotic, and environmentally conscious. Reflecting on the goals of K-12 curriculum, I am reminded of the importance of developing higher-order thinking skills and effective social skills in my future teaching practice. It is my responsibility as a teacher to create a learning environment that fosters critical thinking, encourages active engagement, and promotes collaboration among students. By incorporating in activities and strategies that develop these skills, I can help my students become well-rounded individuals who are ready to face the challenges of the modern world. Reflecting on the K-12 curriculum, I am encouraged to see that it not only focuses on the development of cognitive skills but also recognizes the importance of metacognitive skills in the teaching learning process. By incorporating both cognitive and metacognitive approaches in my teaching practice, I can provide my students with well-rounded education that equips them with the necessary skills for academic success and lifelong learning. So, analyzing the K-12 curriculum has reinforced my understanding of the importance of developing both cognitive and metacognitive skills in my future teaching practice. By incorporating teaching methodologies that support the development of these skills, I can create a dynamic and effective learning environment that promotes critical thinking, self-regulation, and overall student success.